was a warm summer night on a gaslit street. I sat down at a table, please help me to sleep. I felt the dark eyes looking.
We are very fortunate to be here with Senator Jennifer Beck. Jennifer, we really appreciate you coming out for supporting the cause of preschool. One of the issues at the core of this is the importance of preschool. Where do you stand on the importance of having preschool education?
It's funny you ask that question because I really have changed my position. When I first entered the legislature in 2006 as a member of the State Assembly, I really believed that preschool did not provide educational value, and I had a bill in to repeal funding for preschools. And then I really became invested in learning more. And in the borough of Red Bank, we do have an active preschool program. They are one of the districts, one of the 5 districts that were picked for the expansion aid. Now there are only 4, but there were 5. And as I learned more, what I saw was that the 3- and 4-year-olds that entered a preschool program performed markedly better in kindergarten and first grade in terms of their ability to interact in a classroom and learn, and they really had a leg up on other students. So I am a believer. I obviously withdrew the bill, and I am an advocate. I think preschool makes a big difference in young people's lives.
And I think you're right there. There's so much study now on that 0 to 3 population and how much brain growth and development is at that time. And they're not only learning the academic skills, but they're learning social skills of getting along, of sharing, of negotiating, which are all important life skills. And I think the earlier the children can be exposed to a good environment like that, I think the more important. So in terms of support of the preschool program, do you have an opinion on whether it should be in the community provider to give the parents options, or what kind of focus do you think should?
You know, I'm sure that is a case-by-case basis. There are some communities that don't have the ability and school districts that don't have the ability to provide that service. There's some school districts that do, and actually in the borough of Red Bank, it's a little of both. You know, they do some of the programs are done with community providers. But at the end of the day, I think when you look at, let's take Freehold Borough. They have 80 students enrolled in their preschool program. They have 300 students that are eligible, 3- and 4-year-olds. The dramatic difference they see between the 80 that have had exposure to education at 3 years old, when by the time these kids get to kindergarten, they are so far ahead of their peers that you know that there is real value in making that investment. Even simple things like how to behave in a classroom, how do you hold a book?
Right.
I know that sounds crazy, but you know, if you haven't been, you're not in a family that's family that reads, you might not even know the proper way to raise your hand to be called on. I mean, all of those things are basic elements. Many of these kids are coming in knowing their alphabet, knowing their numbers. The other advantage we've seen is the identification of special education and special needs students at an early age. In the borough of Red Bank, they have been able to intervene at 3 and 4 years old with kids that do have special challenges, get them that additional help and service, so that by the time they get to first grade, they may not be considered regular students, but their needs in terms of intensity have been greatly reduced. And so therefore the cost of educating those students is reduced because we address the problems very early on.
At an early age when you can really have an impact on
a
what's
huge
going on.
impact.
There have been so many studies. In fact, there's been studies about the number of words that children know by different ages, depending on if you're from a family that reads and has books and has positive conversations. And they've really done studies that all the way up to the SATs, the children with a bigger vocabulary at an early age do better academically. So I think, you know, you're really on the right track, and I'm glad you changed your opinion on preschool, because I think it really does have a tremendous impact.
Yeah, I agree. New Jersey currently funds preschool education in the 31 former Abbotts, and we have 4 school districts that were qualified for the expansion aid. So we spend about $613 million right now in fiscal year 12 on early education, and we are tracking those students to see the type of progress they're making, and the information that's coming back by and large is that these programs are very, very successful in preparing young people for grade school.
And that's great. And well, I want to thank you for sharing that with us and for everything you do for New Jersey.
Certainly.
It certainly is a wonderful state, and I'm glad I live here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great
Thank
to
you.
be here.
So from my mouth these words of wisdom, you must let it go. White carpet display, yes. Pink angel waits above. Or a carpet with blue stars, soft like the wings of a dove. It's been a long time since I've been able to breathe, since I have taken my life with ease.
All right, we're here in Asbury Park with Guy Falzerano. Guy is the Vice President of Governmental Affairs for the New Jersey Child Care Association, and also you are the owner of Rainbow Academy. And how many schools do you own at Rainbow Academy?
We have 10 right now in Rainbow Academy, and we have 7 under development.
Wow, that's amazing. So you really know a lot about the preschool issues. How do you feel about this issue of choice in preschools, where parents have a choice of where they go as opposed to moving all the preschool programs into the public school?
Well, we focused our whole business based on choice. So we've always tried to make that choice an easy one for parents by providing services that we thought the parents would like and would pay for. Mm-hmm. One of the issues that we're seeing right now is that choice is being taken away because public school systems are subsidizing preschool, and it's making that choice very hard for parents. Free is hard to compete with.
Yes, free is very hard, especially in this economic climate. I know some of your centers are based in the Piscataway, Middlesex County area. How is this program working there?
Well, I have 4 centers in Middlesex County, 1 in Piscataway, and what we've seen in the last 2 years in Piscataway has really been eye-opening. 2 years ago, the public school system in Piscataway opened up or purchased, I should say, or leased what used to be a parochial school from the Archdiocese, and it had capacity for about 300 children, as I understand, and they had a need to provide services for 100 children that had special needs, which is one of their obligations. But they had a lot of open space as a result of that. So what they did was they started offering a preschool for a fee. And that fee is a subsidized fee. It doesn't cover all the costs that we have to incur. We have to pay taxes. We've got to pay benefits for our employees. We've got to pay maintenance costs and rent and all the things that the public school system doesn't have to pay. So they've offered subsidized services. The taxpayers of Piscataway are picking up those costs. And what they've done is they've taken about 200 children out of the private sector and put them into the public sector at the expense of Piscataway taxpayers.
And do you think that the taxpayers in Piscataway realize that they're subsidizing so much for preschool education?
I don't think they have any idea what's going on here. And in fact, it's even worse than that, because we have found that the Piscataway School District is advertising outside of the Piscataway area. We've seen advertisements in Valpak coupons and money mailers for people in the Somerset County area to come into the Piscataway preschool system. And effectively what's happening there is they're giving them discounted preschool at the expense of the Piscataway taxpayers.
Wow, that's amazing. So not only are the taxpayers paying more money, but as schools go out of business, then they're losing the ratables of being able to pay taxes. I know one of the other issues, and you're in the process, I know, of building some new centers. How different is it for a private operator like yourself to build a center compared to a school that they might develop through the public school system?
Well, an interesting thing is a few years back, the New Brunswick School District built a kindergarten facility for about 200 children, and it cost them $40 million to build that building.
$40 million, that's amazing.
I would build a center for 180 children, and it would cost us about $1 million for the center and about another $1 million for the land and the furniture and the equipment that we would put in. So for about $2 million, we could do about the same thing that they could do, or what they did, for about $40 million.
That's amazing, the difference. And as taxpayers, we're picking up that extra $38 million difference.
Right. For
That's
one
amazing.
school, for 200 children.
So what do you think, as taxpayers and as voters, that we should go to our politicians to say, to make a change in the situation, so parents have choice, so we can decrease our taxes, so we can keep people in jobs? What should we be saying to our legislators?
Well, I mean, this economy is in the tank, as everybody knows. We've got to stop paying for things that aren't necessary. And, you know, what's required under our Constitution is that the public sector or public school districts offer services for 1st through 12th grade. Kindergarten's not even in the Constitution. Now, I'm not advocating that the public sector gets rid of kindergarten, but they should not be offering preschool services when the private sector can do it, and do it better, because we do it less costly.
Well, that's certainly good information. I hope all the taxpayers will get out there and voice their opinion so we can keep our taxes down and keep choice for parents, because I think that's a really important, important issue, especially at the preschool level.
Well, thanks. And I agree with that. And, you know, and if in the private sector, if somebody's not doing their job, if they're not providing the services that parents want, you know, parents vote with their dollars every day. So if they don't like the service you're providing, they'll just go to another center.
That's true. They have a voice.
Parents don't have that choice when they're locked into the public sector.
That's very true. So choice is very important. So go out there and talk to your legislators and make choice an option for our families, our young children. Thank you very much for joining us, Guy.
Thank you, Kathy.
And thank you for your input.
Thank you.
A laugh and a smile, but a cry inside. I can feel some answers when I look up to the sky. A white carpet display, yes. The pink angel wets above. Oh, a carpet with blue stars. Some like the wings of air. Yeah.
We are fortunate to be here in Asbury Park with Assemblywoman Caroline Casagrande. How long have you been an Assemblywoman?
4 years. I'm just completing my 2nd term.
Wow, and I hear you're also a new mom.
I am. I had a little baby Teddy in June, and I have Harrison, who's 3, so I'm busy these days.
Oh, I can imagine. I don't know how you do all those things with the new babies. I know this probably is an issue that's near and dear to your heart, of keeping preschools open so parents have choice. What brings you down to the center today?
Well, I think it's a very interesting issue from a couple of perspectives. Number one, we're very concerned right now in New Jersey with creating jobs and making sure our small business community is sustained. As I understand it, the family daycare provider community is really 90% women-owned businesses. So that's something we want to make sure has the ability to continue. As a mom, I want to make sure that parents have the opportunity to make the right choices for their children. And that really will include keeping as many of these centers open so that parents have options.
And that's very important, because some parents I know like to have their children near workplace. Some of them like to have it at home. So I think keeping the women employed and giving parents choice is a really important issue too. And as far as programs that you think children should be involved in, do most of the schools require that you have an accredited program, or?
Yes, these schools that receive state funding, as I understand it, are held to the same standards. They require master teachers. They require identical curriculums. So they are held to the same standards as our public schools. But like every school is special and has its own nuances. And I think that's a little bit of what we're going to see today. 4 different places. Kids are learning basically the same things, but each school's doing it in their own way.
And that's an important point I think that you brought out earlier today, was that parents want different things for their children. Some may be focused on academics. In today's age, a lot of them are focused on the social issues, as learning good manners and being polite to each other. Do you think any ones are more important than others, or?
I don't know. It's a struggle. As a mom of a 3-year-old, I actually just went through. I said, and I actually, I guess a lot of parents ask my own mother, I said, Mom, what do you think's more important? Should I have him in a vigorous curriculum right now because he's 3? Or should I, have him more focused on his moral growth? And she said to me, there's plenty of time to learn math. You make that kid into a nice 3-year-old. So that's where I went.
Well, Mom, I think you're very smart out there, and I think that that's true, because no one knows when you're in college whether you read at 3 years old, 5 years old, or 7 years old. But if you're a good person, that lasts a lifetime.
That's true, and you can learn that from a good school.
That's right. Well, thank you for sharing that information with us, and thank you for all you do for the entire state. We really appreciate all your service to the community.
Thank you. It's an honor to serve New Jersey.
True colors are reflected at me, so I say I will not live this way. Bring on the life that's supposed to be.
We're here with course, one of the most knowledgeable people in early childhood education about some of the issues that are facing our state of New Jersey. Barbara DeMarco. Barbara, what is your official title?
I am a governmental affairs consultant to the New Jersey Child Care Association. I serve as a vice president of Porzio Governmental Affairs, a top 10 lobbying and law firm family of companies in the state of New Jersey.
And I know you have organized this tour of Asbury Park schools today. Could you tell us a little bit about the purpose of this tour?
The recession has caused a problem where there's been a hostile public takeover of businesses such as child cares and preschools owned by women, employing women, up to 82,000 women, generating $3.8 billion in economic impact per year. These schools, these classrooms are being absorbed into public schools, and taxpayers aren't even aware that they're paying the bill for them.
That's amazing. So as taxpayers, we're paying for other children to go to preschool?
Parents who can afford preschool are getting it for free or at a reduced tuition rate. It's something that's happening because parents aren't aware that it's not a requirement, except in Abbott districts and for children with special needs.
And doesn't that also cut down on choice for families if they want to take their child to a place near their home or near their workplace?
Preschool was the choice program. It's been a choice program for decades. It has worked beautifully. Those schools that are better, they survive. Those that aren't, do not. All of a sudden you infuse the school district into it, and they are the people who have everything subsidized, from the building to the maintenance to the tuition, to the benefits, by the taxpayer, gets into this business. They open up classrooms at reduced tuition rates that the private provider, in this case generally women who employ women, can't compete with. The net result is, during a recession, or really at any time, a parent's going to choose the less costly alternative. And because of the subsidized nature of a public school, that's the public school, and they just can't compete, causing many centers, through no fault of their own, they have the quality, they meet all the standards, they meet all the licensing, to close.
Wow, that's really a shame, because not only does it eliminate parent choice, but it also puts a lot of women out of jobs, which is a key issue here in New Jersey now.
Absolutely. This is the only woman-driven business sector that employs 98% of the employees are women. So every time a classroom is closed, every time a center is closed, a woman is either losing her business or losing her center. And to me, as someone who is a businesswoman, I find that to be just reprehensible. I don't think there's another word for it. And the fact that our government is allowing it is even worse.
And the fact that we as taxpayers are picking up the tab for that.
That, plus the fact that there's no proof that if you do this in a public school, that there's greater quality and greater results. In fact, every school that is DOE certified, DCF licensed, actually probably exceeds what a public school is offering.
One of the things that I have heard along the lines, Barbara, is that actually the private providers are under more regulations than what some of the public schools have to meet. For example, there's a lot of, I know, playground regulations, whereas you can see sometimes in public schools where children can play in a parking lot. How are the regulations different in the different venues?
This is one of the big issues. You have too many different departments regulating the industry. Generally, and in the past, it was done by DCF. When the Abbott decision came down in the mid-90s, it became more of a DOE responsibility, especially in those 31 Abbott school districts. As a result, there's a sharing of control over the community, meaning that the community centers have not only to hit the regulations of DCF, they have to hit the regulations of DOE. Public schools do not have to follow DCF regulations as it pertains to the 0 and 5 population.
Oh, wow, so that's amazing. So they have higher standards, and yet they're competing against an unfair disadvantage by charging different rates of free tuition then.
Well, the tuition is an issue that is just huge right now because parents are struggling, and when you're talking about depressed areas where parents are struggling just to keep their job, or there are 2 people employed and they're doing 2 and 3 different jobs, this is such a key component of keeping that family together and keeping an income and food on the table and a roof over their head. When a school district gets involved in this, they're offering a tuition that is subsidized by taxpayers. When it's being done in the community provider is not only providing the educational component, but they're also doing the rest of it, the other wraparound component. Now, some school districts have gotten into that as well, but really that's not a place for those kids because it's really the aftercare programs, et cetera, which have always fallen under the domain of a DCF licensed center. There's no educational component to it.
So as taxpayers, what can we be saying to our officials that we'd like to see happen to make this more equitable, to make parents still have choice, to decrease our taxes? What can we be asking our officials to promote as they go down to Trenton?
I think if our officials would embrace the fact that when putting these programs in place, all for good reasons, to help children who need a better education or a better environment or better health care, better planning or better social supports, that they don't have to put it in a public infrastructure with public employees, with public benefits that are all much more costly than you can do in a nice collaboration between community and school districts. There's no reason to bring it in. We've proved over the last decade, more than a decade, that it works when it's in place. And most people would have acknowledged that, but in recent years, because money is tight, what has happened is more and more centers are losing their classrooms, losing their business, and being pulled into public schools at the expense of the owner, of the employee, of the family because they no longer have that choice, of the taxpayer because it costs more, on all levels. And that is the travesty, and you have to tell and make your legislators aware of that.
That's right. All right, so everyone go out there, talk to your legislators. Let's keep choice available for preschoolers, and let's keep all those women employed. Thank you very much, Barbara. It's been very informative. A, B, C,
D, E, F,
G. Little louder.
H, I, K, K, L, B,
Okay, so can you wave? Say hi. We just had the opportunity to visit an amazing school here at the Little Tots Preschool in Asbury Park, and we're fortunate to be with two of the directors. Can you tell me your names first?
Romaine Roberts.
And who do we have over here?
AJ Leonard.
And how long, AJ, have you been in the early childhood education business?
This is my 9th year.
9th year. And how many students are you licensed for?
150.
150.
Well, 220. 221 in the summer, yes.
Wow, that's amazing. And do you take children from the local community? Is the public school involved? How is your program structured?
Basically, our program is structured for just the community because the parents have a choice. So if they choose to come to us, they have to just prove they're Asbury Park residents, and as long as we have the space, we can take them.
That's great. And it seems like you have a wonderful curriculum. It's, what kind of curriculum do you use here at the school?
Well, we follow Curiosity Corner curriculum, and right now they're branching off into studies to go along with the curriculum. So it's just giving the children, a chance to be, become more engaged in what's going on and to explore, whatever themes that they like the best, they get a chance to extend on that. So.
And what are some of the challenges that you've been facing lately as the preschool program has become more involved, the public has become more involved in the preschool programs?
Well, funding is always an issue. That we lost a couple classrooms this year. They were moved to a public district school, so that's definitely a challenge.
And how do they decide on that? Who goes to a public school versus being in your private school?
That's a good question. Since they all are Asbury Park residents, I think it's just a recruiting matter.
So you don't really have input to how the selection is made then?
That's correct.
Oh, wow. Okay. And what would you say is one of your most joyful things about working with children in a program like this?
Working with the 3-year-olds, watching them come when they first start, 3 years old, and then to see them graduate at 5. Just to see the progression of how they've grown through the years and the different teaching methods that you have to use with some students and so on and so forth. So it's nice just to see them go from 3 to 5.
It really is. It was amazing to see how engaged they were in there.
Right.
So.
They do pretty good. Right. And they're cute. A lot of them are cute.
All All right, well, thank you very much for sharing that, and good luck with your school. We hope you have a long future here. Well, we've had opportunity to see a lot of really wonderful schools down here in Asbury Park, but some of the challenges that are facing these youngest children in our society are statewide. Lynette, I know you're from North Jersey, and some of the problems they're facing down here are similar to what you're dealing with. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And what do you see happening there?
A lot of the problems that are being faced here are also, like you said, statewide. I have a center in East Orange, and basically we're going through the same thing where the school district is not understanding the overall needs of the child care center. When they were selected to contract with us, they're not understanding the fact that we also need our children and we need our universe, and the school district are taking our children and that's not giving us the children that we need.
Right, and you run a high quality program. Your program is accredited, is that correct?
That's correct.
And so there's no reason for them to come out of your program because they already are in a high quality program.
Correct.
And so is it just a financial thing, you think?
Yes,
or?
it's driven by the district wanting the children in district, and then also not wanting to give the money to the private providers because it's less expensive for them to keep the children in district.
Mm-hmm. And I think that the quality and the regulations that are governing a private school are much stricter from what everyone's told us than in a public school program.
That's very correct. The licensing guidelines that we need to go through as a private provider, our manual is this thick. The environmental things that we have to do, we have to have radon testing, asbestos testing, grounds testing, all of those things, and the public schools are not required to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. And there's no money given to us to reimburse those costs.
Mm-hmm. And what's safe for children is safe for children no matter where they're attending school.
Definitely.
And that's an important, very important issue.
Does not matter.
Right. Well, I know you are also Vice President of the Jersey Child Care Association, and you have a big event coming up this spring. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Our second annual Partners in Education Conference is at Rutgers on March 31st, and we are so fortunate to have Ronna McGuckin, who is the child care lawyer, doing our keynote. And right now we are receiving so many presentation proposals from so many early childhood professionals across the state and actually across the country. In addition, we're going to have phenomenal vendors, we're going to have book signings, so we're very excited. This is a fabulous day for the early childhood community to come together. And we'll also have people from our lobbyist firm there, and they'll have a chance to actually express their concerns and also be one, and that's what we need to do, is be one voice for the early childhood community.
I think that's very important, that we're united to provide what's best for children. And that's the bottom line of all of this. So mark your calendars. If you're in the early childhood field, for March 31st, come out and enjoy this fantastic conference at Rutgers University. Thank you very much, Lynette.
Thank you, Kathy.